Do you realize how you spend your life? Very few of us are aware of how much we can put into and get out of life if we use it properly, wisely, and economically. First, let us economize our time. Lifetimes ebb away before we wake up, and that is why we do not realize the immortal value of the time God has given us. Too much time is spent in rushing, in getting nowhere. We should stop, think, and try to learn what life can give to us. Most people do not think deeply at all. They just eat, sleep, work, and die. 60 years is the average lifespan, but do you know how many years you actually live? Most people sleep from 6 to 10 hours a day. 1/3 of their life, 20 to 25 years, is gone, spent in unconsciousness. Thus, only 40 or 35 years are left. About 5 or 10 years are spent in gossip or talking about nothing and amusements. That brings it down to 30, and out of those 30 years, what else do you do? Eat and do nothing, and of course attend to business. Business is necessary for the purpose of maintaining the bodily animal, which takes most of your time. Actually scrutinize your life. You have left hardly 10 years. In the morning, most of you wake with the consciousness of coffee and toast, no thought of God to refresh your spirit, then rush to business. The day passes. Hurry, we're in at noontime, coffee and donuts. You don't even eat right. Evening comes, movies and dancing. You come back late at night, go to bed, get up in the morning, and start in again with the breakfast consciousness. This is the way you spend your life. In your 60 years of life, many things are necessary just to keep the body vehicle all right. But that is not the sole purpose of life. Do not think that in order to be well clothed and fed, you have to have millions. You don't have to lead a sophisticated life in order merely to feed and care for the bodily animal. Life's goal is much more than that. This world is a vast school in which we ought constantly to strive for greater knowledge and wisdom. Ask yourself now this question: how many good books have I read in this life? Every day, about 24 new books are being printed in America on ethics, music, literature, botany, logic, science, the scriptures, immortal truths. How are you going to pack all this knowledge into your 10 years of life? Then again, 60 years is not the life of everyone. Just the lucky ones have even that. What assurance have you got that sickness will not come and shorten your life? And yet you are idling and having bridge parties. I have no objection if you have a good purpose for doing so. But are you going to fritter away your time standing on the sidewalk, watching the crowds pass by, or looking through the windows at many things you don't need and want to buy? Are you going to waste your time by the wayside? How are you going to learn all the things you want to learn? Doesn't your heart throb to learn everything worthwhile that is going on in the world? How is it possible for the average human being to attain all wisdom? How are you going to find time to read of Jesus, of Aristotle, of all the great poets? Life seems hopelessly short when you think of that. You read a few books and think you know it all. In the cities, you have wonderful libraries, but few people go there. Think of all the knowledge and wisdom that human beings have gathered from the school of life. How, in these few years, are you going to pack it in your brain? Is it possible? As long as you live on this earth, as long as the power in the eye enables you to see the stars, as long as you enjoy God's sunshine and breathe His air, so long will you yearn for knowledge. Most human beings walk through life with an empty skull. They think there is a brain there. They think it, that is all. They walk in emptiness. Oh yes, I have a wonderful library at home. Come on, I will show it to you. Beautiful, but untouched. Music, poetry, science, everything is there. With all the things you want to learn, you don't want to waste your time. You are filled with unhappiness most of the time because you do not keep the mind worthily engaged. Think of Plato, Shakespeare, Maeterlinck, Lord Shankara, and their works. Think of the privilege you have. You can converse with all of them at will through their wonderful books. Instead of that, you are wondering all the time what show you are going to see next. It is good once in a while to be entertained, but if you spend your life in useless pastimes and in gossiping about others, being interested in others' faults rather than recognizing your own, the loss is yours. You have lots of house cleaning to do yourself. You create such a limited sphere of interest around yourself. A tailor died one night and went to heaven. In the morning, he began looking around for a Singer sewing machine. His narrow habit was still with him. Even though in heaven he had no need for clothing, he was clad in garments of light. You, too, are wasting priceless time on non-essentials when the treasures of God are around you, ready to be received. Wisdom comes, knocks at your gate, gently asking, "Let me in." But there is no answer, no thought, no response there. Cheap, sensational novels call you hoarsely with their grossness, and your thoughts rush out to receive them with open hearts. You develop a taste for inferior things thus. If you cultivate a liking for rotten cheese, you lose your taste for good, fresh cheese. As you develop a taste for inferior things, you lose the taste for better offerings, and you think yourself unable to be otherwise because of the compelling power of bad habits. Cultivate the good habit of using this life for pursuing interests that are more worthwhile. Schedule your life. Read the world's best books. Don't waste time reading this and that indiscriminately. Read of medicine, astronomy, science, the scriptures. But one field needs to be your first concern. You must find your vocation. By contact with the cosmic vibration in meditation, you will be led to the goal that is right for you. You will be led to the work you ought to do. Concentrate upon making yourself proficient in that. Many try 10 kinds of endeavor without getting really acquainted with any. As a beginner in self-development, you cannot absorb everything about many things. Learn a little about everything and everything about one thing. Still, knowledge is so vast, spiritual wisdom is so vast, and though the earth is but a speck in the universe, it is immense to us. Yet with the march of human progress, our world is becoming small. Every day it is growing smaller due to modern transportation facilities. Soon we will have to take a trip to other planets to have adventure and travels. Electricity goes anywhere in a second. Why can't we, whose bodies are essentially electromagnetic waves? But we are progressing in numerous ways, doing ordinary things more quickly. The adoption of better methods in business and transportation, mass production by huge machinery, have quickened evolution. Think of the time of life used up just in weaving of cloth by hand in the past. That time has been saved by modern machinery. So the evolution of society has been quickened by the adoption of increasingly better methods. Why can't we accelerate human evolution as well, to learn how to weave lives more quickly into all-round success? How is the human brain going to acquire in a lifetime all knowledge and wisdom? That is my question. When I met Luther Burbank, he showed me a walnut tree and said, "I took off more than 100 years from its usual period of growth. I grew that tree in 12 years, and you could see that the tree was already bearing walnuts. If the walnut tree can be made to mature in 12 years instead of 150 years, there is a chance for human beings also. In 60 years of existence, it is possible for a human being to develop so that he can be a center of all knowledge." That is the point I want to drive home in your mind. I have cited how machinery hastened world evolution. Where did machinery come from? From the factory of human minds. As man quickened evolution in society and business, so he can quicken his evolution in all branches of his life, including the faculties of his inner life. Burbank also made almonds have soft shells, made over the tomato, and created the Shasta daisy from bulbs and the cactus without thorns. In primitive times, the different animals used to eat the cactus, so the cactus developed protective thorns. When one life begins to hurt another life, that life develops weapons of defense. Burbank told me that during his experiments in developing the spineless cactus, every day he went into the garden and talked to the barbed plants. "Please, beloved cactus, I am Luther Burbank, your friend. I am not going to hurt you at all, so why develop thorns?" And so the thornless cactus was developed. By talking, by attention, by thought force, and knowledge of nature's laws, you can impress certain vibrations on protoplasm and thus consciously guide and hasten the process of evolution. Professor James of Harvard said that most of our habits come through heredity. Feeble-mindedness in people, science says, cannot be helped. Scientists take measurements and believe too much in the stamp of heredity. They have yet to learn how, by awakening the brain cells, man can quicken his evolution. The power of receptivity of the brain cells can become so heightened that a man can receive, in a single lifetime, all the knowledge he wants to absorb within himself. In education, there is a vast difference between the methods applied by teachers in India and in the West. In the West, they pump ideas into the brains of children. How many books have you read? How many teachers have you had? A man returned from college with a PhD in making sugar from different fruits. He was asked if sugar could be made from the guava fruit. After some deep thought, he said, "I did not study that. It was not in my curriculum." Using common sense was beyond him. It is not a pumping in from the outside that gives wisdom. It is the power and extent of your inner receptivity that determines how much you can attain of true knowledge and how rapidly. The man who has the power of receptivity quickly grasps everything. People with no receptivity may be exposed to the same experiences or information, yet not really see nor fully comprehend what is there. An intelligent man lives far ahead of the idiot. Your experiences bring wisdom according to the measure of the cup of your receptivity. How can you increase your receptivity and thus quicken your evolution? By consciously condensing all your experiences through the power of concentration. Concentration means to gather in your attention, focusing it to one point. Condensation means to use that concentrated attention to do something quickly that ordinarily would take a long time. By concentration, you can condense each experience and garner whatever wisdom is to be learned from it. By condensation of individual experiences, you can compress all your experiences and the wisdom they contain into a shorter length of time, and thus gain much more than if you go through life haphazardly. I will tell you of such an experience. A friend of mine said I was all right as a spiritual man, but that I could not succeed in business. I replied, "I'm going to make $5,000 in business for you within 2 weeks." He said, "You will have to show me. I am from Missouri." I did not rush to invest money on unwise things. I used concentration, disengaged my mind from all disturbances, and focused my attention one-pointedly within. Most of you have the searchlight of your attention turned outside all the time instead of inside. You should turn the searchlight of the mind within to reveal the divine source. We are living on the outer side of the universe. The inner side is more tangible and real, for there the subtle laws operating behind all outer phenomena can be perceived. Every change in business, every change in the planetary system, in our physical bodies, everything is recorded there. Ordinarily, men do not concentrate. The mind is restless, and the restless mind jumps at conclusions and races for something that does not rightfully belong to one. You must obey divine law. Remember, concentrate, and then ask divine power to help you. So I touched that source, and as soon as I had made that contact, there were shown to me lots of houses. But I did not sit quietly in my room and say, "The Heavenly Father will open the ceiling and drop $5,000 in my lap," because I had favored him with a fervent prayer. I bought the Sunday papers and looked at real estate advertisements. I picked out a few houses and told my friend to invest his money in them. He said, "Everything seems pretty shaky," and I said, "Never mind, Doubting Thomas, don't spoil success by your doubts." In 2 weeks, there was a real estate boom, and prices of houses went way up high. He sold the houses and had a clear profit of $5,000. I showed him that the power of God works through the mind wherever we apply it with faith. Concentration, when directed by divine power, does not allow you to ramble through wrong investments. You go straight to success. If that mind power can be applied in business, it can be applied in other things, in music and writing, for example. I always start from within to bring knowledge out, and not from without to pump knowledge in. All the musical instruments I play, I learned that way. Perhaps I was too proud to think about going to a teacher. I thought, well, the first man who started to make music did not learn from anybody. Why can't I do the same? It is all right to say that, but if you stand and wait while you reinvent the trolley car, you will be a long time getting to your destination. All questions I have had have been answered. As fast as God can respond, I receive direct replies from Him. Start from within, not from without. That is how anyone can get the experience of many years within a short time. You have not to read all the books in the library. You have not to learn everything from schools or teachers. Poetry, music, all knowledge come without limitation from the inner source, from the soul. In one short span of human life, how else are you going to find out answers to all the mysteries of the body and the mysteries of an infinitude of divine wisdom if you do not tap your inner source, which is omniscient? There was a Hindu devotee who was puzzled trying to decide what scriptures he should read and what idol he should worship. Idols are used in India to help fix the mind in concentration on a particular aspect of the one formless spirit and are respectfully kept covered in a temple so that the birds and weather will not destroy them. So this devotee said, "Which god shall I worship?" He would buy one idol, and then he would be afraid the others would get angry. So he would buy another. He had 2 big trunks in which he carried all his holy books and images suspended from his shoulders on a pole. Every day somebody would tell him he had better worship this god or that god and read this or that holy book, so heavier and heavier the trunks grew. He saw he would have to buy a 3rd trunk, but he thought, it is not possible to carry 3 trunks. He sat by the side of a pond and began to weep. Infinite Spirit, tell me which book to read and which idol to worship. As soon as I worship one god, I think the others are getting angry. It so happened that a saint passed by that way, and seeing the crying man, said, "Son, why are you weeping? What is the matter?" "Saint, I don't know which book to read, and look at these hundreds of idols. I don't know which one to please." The saint said, "Close your eyes and pick up any book and follow that book throughout life, and drop the idols on a rock and break them one by one. The one that does not break, worship that one." So he picked up one book. Most of the idols were made of clay, and all broke except one that was made of solid stone. Then the saint suddenly came back and said, "I forgot to tell you something. Now that you have found your God, go back home. But if you find a more powerful God than this one, worship him. Always worship the more powerful God." So the man went home, and on his little altar he put the stone idol, worshiping and offering fruits. Every day he discovered the fruit was gone, so he thought, "The saint certainly told me of the right idol." Since he has eaten the fruits, he must be a living god. One day, overcome by curiosity, he thought he would watch how a god eats. He opened his eyes just a little, and while he was praying, he saw a huge mouse come and eat the fruit. Then he said, "Look at that stone idol. It cannot eat the fruit, but the mouse can, so it is a more powerful god." He caught the mouse by the tail and tied it on the altar. His wife said, "You have gone crazy." "No, I have not gone crazy. I am just following the instructions of the saint to worship whatever form of God is the most powerful." So he put the stone aside and began to worship the mouse instead. One day he was meditating when suddenly he heard a great noise. Opening his eyes, he saw a pussycat eating the mouse. He thought, "That is interesting. The pussycat is more powerful than the mouse, so I must worship the cat." He got hold of the cat and made a place for it on the altar. The cat did not have to catch mice anymore, receiving an offering of milk every day without any labor on its part. Day after day, the man's meditation grew deeper, and the cat got fatter. After each meditation, the man used to drink a bowl of milk placed before him by his wife. The pussycat was not satisfied with what she got, so she concentrated on the man's bowl of milk. One day she drank it up and went back and sat on the altar. The wife came in, saw the milk gone, looked at the cat sitting on the altar feigning innocence, and went and got the broom. Her husband's meditation was broken by the noise of the broomstick falling on the yowling cat. He looked at his wife chastising the cat, and he thought, "That is interesting. My wife is more powerful than the pussycat, so she is a better god than the cat." Then he demanded that his wife sit on the altar. So she sat, and every day he meditated on her. Of course, the wife still cooked food for her husband, and after he finished worshiping her, he would eat his meal. It so happened that one day he bit down hard on a piece of charcoal in the rice. "Why did you put charcoal in the rice? Why did you do that?" the man shouted at his wife. To which the wife apologetically replied, "Master, I did not deliberately put charcoal in the rice. Forgive me, I am thy servant." Then he said, "Ah, that's interesting. So you are my servant. You like to serve me. Then I am more powerful than you are. Then I am the most powerful God. God is in me. I have found him now within myself." You won't find God anywhere unless you find him within. Find him within, and you shall find him without, everywhere. If you find him in the temple of your soul, you find him enshrined in all temples and churches and in all souls. It is impossible in this life to read all the Vedas and Bibles and to follow all the systems given to be godlike. How then are you going to achieve the goal of your evolution? You must search within, just as the devotee in the above story found out. You cannot possess all wisdom unless your brain is evolved accordingly. Everything depends upon the receptivity of your mind, brain cells, and the subtle astral centers of life and consciousness in the spinal column. This body changes every 12 years. That is why at 12, 24, and 36 years, we find distinct changes occurring. If there were no obstruction of disease and other karmic consequences of breaking natural laws, with the change of years and change of body, the mind would change correspondingly. Disease and wrong living retard that evolution. But normally, in 12 years, your brain develops in such a way that it displays a slight refinement of mentality. If natural evolution takes 12 years of growth and change of tissues to manifest improved patterns of thoughts, then to make the brain receptive to all wisdom would seem to require that you wait almost indefinitely. To accelerate this process of evolution, there is a method that the masterminds of India have taught of revolving specific vital currents around the spine and brain. By practicing this method, revolving the current around the 6-12 bipolarity, astral cerebrospinal centers, you can gain the result of 1 year's ordinary physical evolution. That is how many saints quickly acquire spiritual knowledge, far beyond that of theoretical theologians. Things which they perceive instantly would require years of ordinary study and experience. Revolving this current around the centers of divine life and consciousness in the spine and brain develops their receptivity. In a year of such practice, even 20 minutes a day, you can get the result of many years of natural evolution. Jesus Christ did not go to college, yet not one among the world's great scientists knows of God and nature's laws as he knew. Experiential knowledge ordinarily comes through the channel of the senses, but the senses do not give you more than the knowledge of phenomena, the superficial appearances of the real substance. When by concentration and practice of the above-mentioned method, all the fine spinal and brain cells are tuned to the cosmic source, they become highly magnetized, charged with divine intelligent power. Some say that our brain cells at birth have come already patterned with fixed traits and therefore cannot be remolded. This is false. Since God made us in his image, we cannot have limitation. If we probe deeply enough within ourselves, we will know that this is so. Even in the feeble-minded, God's power is present as much as in the greatest man. The sun shines equally on the charcoal and the diamond. It is the charcoal that is responsible for not reflecting the sunlight as does the diamond. All congenital limitations come through man's own transgression of a law sometime in a past incarnation. But what has been done can be undone. If the brain cells of a feeble-minded person are awakened with the searchlight of concentration focused within by the above method, he will display the previously eclipsed intelligence the same as the intelligent man. Your body is made up of 27 Duan cells. Every cell is like an intelligent being. You have to educate the dormant intelligence in each cell in order to know all there is to know in this world. But you have never trained those cells. That is why you are all the time full of melancholia and passing fancies, and suffering from lack of understanding. The great scientific method of mental and spiritual progress is to magnetize the cells by sending life current around the brain and spine, thereby securing the evolutionary advancement of 1 year's healthful, harmonious living. 20 minutes of this practice daily will greatly refine your mentality. When you have revitalized the brain cells, when the divine magnetism touches them, every cerebral cell becomes a vibrant brain, and you will find within yourself myriads of awakened brains ready to grasp every vestige of knowledge. With these awakened brains, the multitude of cellular mentalities in the body will awake, and all things will be apprehended by you. You will study the vast book of nature and truth with 27,000 billion awakened and spiritualized microscopic brains and mentalities. Why be satisfied in half-educating a small part of your brain only? Whenever you want to know something, don't start with data. Retire within and concentrate. Seek guidance from within. When the mind is receptive, then bring the data. Start working out the business or mental solution. Do not be filled with discouragement and say it cannot be done. Every human being is a representative of the infinite power. You should manifest that power in everything you do. Whenever you want to produce something, do not depend only upon the outside source. Go deep within and seek the infinite source. All methods of business success, all inventions, all vibrations of music, all inspirational thoughts and writings are recorded in the annals of God. First, determine what your goal is. Ask divine aid to direct you to the right action whereby your objective will be fulfilled. Then meditate. Afterward, act according to the inner direction that you receive. Then you will attain what you want. When the mind is calm, how quickly, how smoothly, how beautifully you will perceive everything. Success in everything will come to pass in a short time, for cosmic power can be proved by the application of the right law. The scientific man or the businessman or anyone seeking success would accomplish more if he concentrated upon increasing the receptive quality of his brain cells instead of depending just on books and college work for his progress. The world starts with books and outside methods, but you should start by increasing the receptivity of your intuition. In you lies the infinite seat of all knowledge. Calmness, concentration, and condensation of experiences by intuitional perception will make you master of all knowledge. Do everything with full attention, never in a haphazard way. Do not try to do too many things at a time. Perform the most important duties of life first, with heartfelt enthusiasm and closest attention. Do not indiscriminately swallow useless ideas. Why should you walk in dead men's shoes? Don't let yourself act like an intellectual Victrola, content to parrot the untested opinions of others. Where are you seeking, my friends? Prayers have been asked, but God has not answered. But with the awakened brain cells, intelligent beings whom you have kept uneducated, made vibrant with the joy of God, all knowledge can be had in this life, eternity realized now. Awake.